Uh, Today, I'm extremely proud and honored to have a guest. Okay, sorry. Hi, welcome all. Welcome to another session of Wisdom Wednesday by Voice of Healthcare. I'm extremely proud and honored today to have a guest whom I personally know for quite some time, Dr. Ramprasad, who is the CEO of Medgenome. Dr. Ram, welcome here. And for me, it's a personal pride because I've seen you grow from a bench scientist to today leading one of the leading brands of clinical genomics in this part of the world. And this transformation has been amazing that you've made Medgenome to be a beachhead of genomics in this part of the world by bringing in some of the most cutting edge technologies at affordable prices in India. So, without further ado, Dr. Ram, I would like you to kindly introduce yourself and also give us an idea about your journey of Medgenome till now, and what do you think are some of the immediate goals going ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Praveen. And it's been a pleasure knowing you for last maybe how many is 2005, 2004 onwards. I know you, and it's been interesting to see the genomic landscape, how it's changing dynamically in India, and no doubt about it because of the large opportunities that this demography brings here. And um, and I've been fortunate to have fantastic colleagues, the team, some of my senior management, the investor group who have put a lot of confidence in us since last 7 years, at least 2014, we officially took over, and things have been great for us. And things have been improving as far as the framework ecosystem is concerned. And yes, as far as Medgenome is concerned, we've been at the right time, right opportunity for us. We did all the lot of hard work, and as mentioned to you, it's not just one or two people. There are a host of things that came together. We brought everything at right way. It came up, shaped out really well. And I'm pretty sure that things are working well for various other stakeholders in this SEAM ecosystem, and we look forward to see things grow without any problems in India.
Great, great. Thanks, Ram. Uh, Ram, my first question to you would be, last 1.5 years has been extremely tough. Not just, I mean, as a normal citizen, but more so as a leader of an organization who has to run an organization, survive, motivate the employees amidst this pandemic. How was the experience, and how did Medgenome and how did specifically you as a leader cope up in these tough times?
Yeah, Praveen, it's well, not in a good way or bad way, whatever it is. It's been a lifetime experience for me. Many things we learned, many things we thought, oh, why I'm in this situation? Because till 2019 or 2020 March, I was not at the helm of affairs, especially on some of the things that I do currently. We used to take care of business, take care of the operations, all of science. It was really fun, but COVID put me into a very tough spot. But again, it's been a great opportunity to learn to work with the team. Things have not been easy last 2 years. I would say last 1 year at least we got used to the new normal. Okay, and we knew what to do certain things and what we shouldn't do. But the first wave has been very very confusing, and because in our lives many of us have never seen such kind of a pandemic, the such intensity pandemic. Maybe people who have seen after 1918 Asia, the flu, I don't think anybody has experienced how it will impact. And the new age world is a completely different world, how we are all interconnected in terms of our lives, the travel, the business, and any kind of a small disruption could really lead to a big disruption at everywhere. So first year has been like, okay, what is going to be the business impact? We don't have answers. How long this is going to be there? We didn't have an answer. What is the new normal? How do we adjust to it? We never had answers, at least till September, October last year. And many questions lingered after 4 to 5 months of lockdowns, business disruption, very tricky things as to how do we work, because we are not, our 50% of work happens on site. We are not a software or IT where people can work from home. As you can understand, we are in healthcare. We have to physically come out to the labs. How much ever automation you have, how much ever remotely you can work, things have to work at the ground. Okay, so not only for us, and many, almost all the healthcare, paramedical as well as hospital groups, they have to be on site. So this brought us a great deal of challenge as to how we are going to adjust, what we are going to do. And of course, on the business side, what are the new strategies? You don't know what kind of strategies you will employ to mitigate the COVID impact, and also come up with new ways of doing business. And most important, what always lingered in my mind at least, is one important thing apart from these other bigger issues. Another big issue which always worried was employee safety, employee support systems, because we're an organization of about 550 people across the country. It's not a small organization, it's not a very large organization, and we are in between somewhere. And always what bothered was, how do people work? What is the safety? What is the support systems they have in case somebody in our employee and family get impacted, get affected with COVID? How do these young people who are not very much experienced in doing business come to work? Because 160 people work in the lab, 170 people. How do they come? Are they safe enough? What do we need to do to make them? Because ultimately, it's all human. Okay, we work with humans. We while we enforce certain things to do business continuity, ultimately we have to work with all of us very closely. So employee support systems and safety has always been something. Okay, what do we do? What kind of things we can work to ensure that everybody are safe? So luckily, we came up with several options, several programs, several things. We started off what we call CARE program, COVID assistance rehabilitation programs. We apart from just giving cash support or the incentives or the finance support, we did a lot of things on logistics side. We took care of several options where the employee had confidence to come back to office, at least to the labs, and start working. I'm fortunate that both on the board side as well investor side, they have been very, very encouraging to ensure that we support employees in this situation. So that has been a very, very important thing. But again, the second phase, I think we figured out how to do business, what kind of things we can do, both in terms of operationally, business operations wise, as well as how to bring it back to normal business continuity. Things have worked well. The whole lot of team, I don't even believe, I just can't imagine my 170 people, not a single person complained to come back to our lab and start working within about 1 week of the first wave. And so far, we didn't have problems. So I take this opportunity to thank everybody who has been supporting me in this.
Fantastic to hear that. I think, and that's a hallmark of good leadership, I would say, and an extremely motivated team. When you can have a culture where people take up their responsibility amidst such a challenging times, and especially for us, because we are handling the biological samples. In any of the normal businesses, it's just continuity of business, but here we are handling the biological samples where the chances of infections are even much more higher. So I think kudos, Ram. Good to hear that part. A linked question, Ram, that while of course pandemic is of course has slowed down the pace of economies, but if you come back to our sector, one of the major advantages I would say what pandemic has brought in, this pandemic has brought in, is the awareness about molecular diagnostic to a common man per se, which I think I'm sure all of us were struggling to basically create that awareness. And today, even a common man understands what RT-PCR is, what genome sequencing is. And in this current regime of things, do you think the major motto of Medgenome to be in the precision medicine space, how do you think it is impacting the market, or what is, are you seeing a future now becoming more optimistic for things like precision medicine in India?
Yeah, so Praveen rightly said, not just in terms of molecular testing, but in terms of even health awareness, COVID has it's been a paradigm shift for everyone, in terms of preventive health, in terms of predictive approach, rather than being more reactive, which we have been historically or culturally, we have been like that. At least it instills some kind of a real questions in the minds of people as to, because when the the situation came to say that COVID creates a lot of problems for those individuals who have comorbidities. Everyone started thinking about are we doing right in our how we approach our personal health. Okay, so that's something completely changed. I'm pretty sure whoever are aware of what COVID does have not only from diagnostic perspective but in way we approach the health has completely changed. More so in our sector, especially on the genomics and molecular diagnostics, as you mentioned, that everybody are aware of the advantages and the impact, positive impact that molecular diagnostics bring in terms of diagnosis. And for us, I think this is a huge leap in terms of the whole of confidence that it builds. Many of the investors you talk about, many of them who have been very skeptical about how we can scale up the sector have completely changed their mind. They say that okay, this is there. This is something that is going to really change, not just in terms of business or revenue or investment, in terms of the impact it will have on larger population. So that is a very good positive vibe. I think we should all take this in a proper way and build our whole of strategies roadmap and how we approach in terms of investments. I'm pretty sure this is going to give us a good future ahead if we put up things properly.
Fantastic. That's music to ears, I would say, because I think that's a common goal for all of us to see personalized medicine, precision medicine, and molecular diagnostics, and going into advanced level of genomics based molecular diagnostics or personalized medicine approach helps us. Ram, we knew that Medgenome has always been a pioneer in bringing in cutting edge technologies in the genomics. Mostly, we've seen till now that your foray or your focus area was in the clinical diagnostic space. Lately, we've seen that Medgenome has now come into the direct to consumer space. I would love to understand what's the thought process and what's the focus area for this space.
Yeah, Praveen, ultimately, when you are looking at an impact of science or how you can scale up the business in both ways, until you reach the larger population, not just people who are sick or people who are having some rare disease or who come to the hospitals, you need to reach out to large population to ensure that the benefits of science reach to the scale it is needed. Um, we've been thinking about direct to consumer approach maybe last 4 or 5 years. We had the know-how. We wanted to really reach out to them, but we never had a real time and opportunity for us to really get there. And also, one important thing, as you can understand, most of the times people look at what is actually there for me. Okay, we need to answer the questions of the customer. We cannot just, as any other thing, just put it up. Just somebody 23andMe or somebody is doing it in US successful. We can just do copycat stuff. So, what is the requirement and need of the individuals in this part of the world? So that's when we've been doing a lot of science. Then we started with coronary artery disease risk score or polygenic risk score, which is a proven science today on the screening part of it. You can stratify individuals, really saying who is high risk, who is low risk, average risk, and it gives a lot of opportunity for an individual to preventive approach to ensure that his health is in his hands. Okay, so whoever are positive in the way they look at these kind of screening tests, it's a huge opportunity for them. So that's when we decided that we publish this peer review paper, work with large centers, and really put up this new way of identifying the risk individuals. The only way to have a big impact is reach out to consumers directly. Okay, so that is when we started Genesens. And Genesens is a brand. Genesens is a business segment where the consumer does an Amazon stuff. So you just go to a Genesens website, you just order a spit kit. It comes to you within 48 hours. You just spit it in there, ship it back to us, and within about a week's time we give you a result whether you are at a high risk of having coronary artery disease, which is about 8 to 10% of individuals in this population have it. And if you are, then nothing to panic about it. You just need to ensure your lifestyle, your habits, your how you take care of things, and in fact certain situations even medical management will significantly help you. So this is a route for us to get through a large population. This is only one of the screening tests that we have brought it, but there are about another 4 or 5 we are putting in the pipeline. Most probably next 3 to 4 months, we are coming up with PRS for body mass index, with for diabetes, for hypertension, but in a very well calibrated and responsible way. We want to bring these. We are not in a hurry. We are not in a rush, because when we bring something on to the population, it needs to we need to answer why it is exactly. There has to be a strong scientific background. We cannot just say that, oh, we type some SNPs or genotypes and give it off to you. We have to answer real questions. It should have a positive impact. That's the only way. So we will bring them, and this sector is going to grow. And this will culminate at somewhere at some point of time into our regular health screening protocols, which includes your hospital visits, which includes your routine blood tests, to warn about your routine health, and how you can take control of your health rather than worrying after you have got diabetes or hypertension or whatever it is. So that's the whole objective for us. And I'm sure that you do a proper science, you convey the proper message, you do it in a very cautiously, in a responsible way. There are people who are willing to take this.
Fantastic. I think I'm really, really, elated to hear this. That right now, a company like Medgenome, which is trustworthy, which is doing a lot of background research before launching a product. Because one of the concerns which I think many people have normally in a genomics product is that majority of the data is actually being, worked upon from the Caucasian data, and we try
Yes.
to extrapolate the data from a Caucasian population in the Indian context.
Yeah.
It's really heartening to see that Medgenome, which has done a lot of validation, I think, in last so many years, looking at the genomic data to create a tool which is amenable for the Indian population variations, associated to a particular trait, and then offering that specific direct to consumer, awareness or genomics, indication or tool here. So
That's right.
that's great. I mean, how are you finding the market responding to it, Ram? I mean, how's the
Oh,
market
there has
responding?
been very positive response. We got our social media, our digital marketing. There have been a lot of inbounds coming in, and not just on the leads, but also just asking about more details about how we do this. What does it mean for the end consumer? How does it happen? So we're opening more channels. We are opening more counseling support. We are talking to various other stakeholders as to how we can help them. We are there. I think, as you mentioned rightly, if you do in a very responsible way, which proving the science and which is needed for this part of the country, this part of the world, I'm sure it will give us good returns.
Fantastic. Just a quirky question. Any plans to hire a celebrity to endorse this, which is a common trend?
Well, Praveen, that's the first thing marketing has said, but I've told them to hold on. We have to go because COVID, the budgets, we don't know what's in store until we are very confident on that. More than a celebrity, I'm looking at an individual who can motivate and bring people on the health conscious side. So that's very important. So we'll see on that.
Fantastic. No, I understand. I mean, just it'll be nice to understand, because I think for all our scientific based organizations, when it comes to consumer marketing,
Yes.
it's a different game altogether. One is having
Yes.
a product, and
Yes.
one is to marketing itself is a
Yes.
challenge. So we are all looking up to you, Ram, to see what kind of newness you bring in the marketing side without compromising the science
Yeah.
part of it. So
A
that's fine.
very difficult thing to do. I know internally also there have been several critics as I'm not launching it as like a consumer brand, but this can be easily misled. I know people can do different ways of misinterpreting as to what we are trying to do. So trying to really understand what is the pulse of the people, initial feedback. Are there any negative vibes? Are there people thinking differently, wrongly? So we'll understand that better before we scale this up.
Correct. On the same topic, Ram, I think one of the burning need I strongly feel the world has, and specifically, in the regime where, by and large, there's the use of medication is on the rise.
Hmm.
What's your view about pharmacogenomics to be offered as a direct-to-consumer genomics space? I mean, do you think
So yeah, in
the time
general
has
sense,
come?
if
Do you
you
think we have?
yes, yeah. In genesis, if we see, one is a coronary artery disease, one the other is a pharmacogenomics one. In fact, the number of leads we are getting, I was a little taken aback and surprised, are more on the pharmacogenetic side than on the coronary artery disease one. Everybody wants to know how they need to take medications, how they react, both in terms of regular prescriptions as well as prescriptions that the drugs are not easily metabolized. So one area which I would like to clearly tell is that this is something I'm not sure at this point of time how clinicians, hospitals, as well as patients are dealing with is the psychiatric medications. So India, the psychiatric illnesses in India are growing. As you know, the lifestyle is changing. The stress levels are increasing. Many of them are coming out. At least previously, they were sort of subdued. So many of them are reaching out to psychiatrists, and whether it's a depression disorders or anxiety disorders, many of them are then prescribed the antipsychotic drugs. Okay, and almost all of the antipsychotic drugs are metabolized by certain genes or certain enzymes. For example, CYP2D6 is one of the most common one, and it's a tough gene. Okay, I know many of the labs, not only just in India, even abroad also, don't test CYP2D6 properly. Okay, it's a toughest gene you can even analyze anywhere. Okay, so this gene or this enzyme metabolizes more than 450 drugs. Okay, so antipsychotic drugs are the major part of it, and many of them who take these antipsychotic drugs have side effects. Either they don't metabolize them, so they get into a drowsiness. They have other major side effects. They don't get treated properly. They stop it because they are not feeling it well, so they stop it. So biggest problem with antipsychotic medications is no continuity, and they have the illness. So for these people, there is a big impact, especially from the clinician level and consumer level, both of them, that before they prescribe, it could be an SSRI drug, it could be any other antidepressants which are there. Before you give them, you just check their profile. It hardly costs about 5,000 rupees. Okay, it's a once in a lifetime test. You're not going to do every time. It's a screening. It will tell you, okay, you don't take this SSRI, or there is a CPIC recommendation which says the dosage recommendation. Very nicely you do it, you understand it well, and start taking medications. There's a lot of advantage and lot of benefit in doing this test. So pharmacogenetics is a big area. Not only that, another potential area, not on the consumer side, on the clinical side, is on the clinical trials, where when you do clinical trial, you need to take individuals, you need to screen them based on what kind of metabolizer they are. Okay, so that's another segment that is very critical. So we'll see how things work about, and how people reach out on the pharmacogenetic side.
Thanks, Ram. I mean, I would love to see a day when pharmacogenomics becomes a reality. That I would love to have a time when maybe our genetic data is linked to our Aadhaar card, and you go to a doctor and doctor actually logs in your genomic data to basically test whether this drug will suit you or not. I think that day, one day we'll all would love to see that day. So I think that will be great. On the clinical trial, when you mentioned, and I'll just take a cue on this. Tell me one thing, Ram. Globally, and I've had personal discussions with you. Globally, there's a massive new drug discovery by pharma companies, and that's why they're also looking at new marker discovery, and they adopt high throughput genomics to look at disease cohorts and the so-called healthy people to see if they are finding out new markers on which new drugs can be applied. Are you
Yeah.
seeing a thing in India? I mean, are you seeing that in India too? This massive pharma audience we have in the country. Are you seeing a change in the thought process?
In Indian pharma, no, not much.
Mhm.
But yes, we've been working with some of the global pharma, large pharma, and they have separate programs on this,
Mhm.
whether it's a loss of function alleles or human knockouts, to come up with new drug targets. Basically, I don't know whether you have read recently the major anti-obesity drug target identified by Regeneron, which is
Mhm.
based on sequencing, genome sequencing. There are half a
Mhm.
dozen examples we can talk about it. So there is a new science which is now proved beyond doubt, that identifying the population genetics, to be put it in a bigger way, population genetics will yield dividends to identify early drug discovery targets much cheaper and much quicker than your conventional approaches. That's something we strongly feel will take this whole of genomic science into a different paradigm.
Fantastic. And I think, uh, and I agree that maybe, right now, maybe yes, the global pharma companies, if they would like to come to India or partner with technology providers like you, which can help in discovery part, here, and maybe that will motivate many of the Indian pharma companies to look at new drug discovery, because then they will have a belief that market discovery is possible here, in India, and we have players like you who have the wherewithal with respect to both experimentation and analysis part to aid this. Do you
Yeah.
think that will catalyze if we make more open policies and more, I think, open atmosphere for this?
Mhm. It's a huge opportunity, Praveen, not just for in terms of business or in terms of commercial aspects, but it just in terms of how we can explore this whole thing and come up with a huge opportunity here. Now, the biggest problem here, the barrier, I would say, are the three things. One, uh, 90% of our healthcare systems do not have electronic health records. Okay, so most important thing for this is on genome is one side, phenome is on other side. Okay, only when you link both of them you get answers. So the phenome or the phenotype or the clinical parameters that you look on individual is as important as need to be as accurate and as clear and detailed as how we are talking about genome. Today squeezing the genomes is very easy. Okay, so how you bring this phenotype from your health records, from your hospital systems in a well regulated way, in a well guarded, protected ecosystems and framework is something that this Indian ecosystem has to mature. There are two ways, as usually happens, either it's a free for all or ban for all kind of a thing. We should have our own Indian framework. For example, we do some of them, we follow the European data policy protection, which is called GDPR. It's very important, extremely important. For us, data protection is one of the paramount things that we do. And how we follow, starting from how your IT architecture, how you anonymize, you pseudo anonymize data, how you do consents, how you pass through ethics, IRBs. So there is a whole lot of gamut of things which are infrastructure intensive, human resource intensive. And if you can bring up this all into one nutshell, there is a good investment around. The ecosystem is good, ripe at this point of time. And most important thing is the government's guidelines, framework, and the whole of ecosystem that they can open up, saying that you need to follow this. The vagueness should not be there. There has to be crystal clear clarity. Pro business policy needs to be there. I'm pretty sure there's a huge opportunity for everybody else, not just talking about ABC companies, but there's so many things that we can explore and come up with on the business side.
Totally concur with that, Ram. Perfect, My last question, Ram, my main formal question, looking at the current both opportunities and challenges, what are your some of the short-term and mid-long-term plans for MedGenome going forward?
Short-term plans is, of course, consumer side is very important for us. We will continue to go in that segment aggressively in the next few months. You'll be seeing. And on the clinical diagnostic side, we will be expanding. We'll be looking some inorganic growth. You'll be hearing some announcements in the next maybe few weeks time. And also we'll put up some physical centers across the country. So that's the only way you reach out to larger public. So that those two things which we will be doing. And on the midterm and long term side, we look at not just on clinical diagnostics, but as you mentioned, different segments. We will touch base on how to harness the genomic data side of it. So that's very important. We call that internally as genomic medicine program. So that we are very keen on, and we will do it. So there's a huge lot of things that we can do in this whole of segments.
That's fantastic to hear. Ram, my last personal questions. Have you done your your own whole genome sequencing till now?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes,
This
we
is,
have done
this
it.
is
We have done, in fact, we have done even whole genome scans and the Genesens cardiogen test to several of our employees. So,
okay.
as I say, charity starts at home. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, we've done it, and we have consented the individuals, employees who have wanted to know for it. We spoke to them, and it's been very good experience before we go out to the consumer and talk about it. Based on that, I can tell you it is going to be highly useful for any individual.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think that's the confidence we have on Medgenome, because we know when it is coming from your stable, it has to be a good, high quality, science-backed product. With that, Ram, I would like to thank you so much for your time today, and very excited with the future of genomics and the future of healthcare per se in India, and continue to bring in more cutting edge technologies and bring in more new panels, products, services for the Indian market. All the best. Thank you, Ram.
Thanks, Prem. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Take care.